Welcome to Capture the World with Dee. Interviews with companies and individuals to learn more about digitally capturing the built world. Video, drone, 3D tours, pictures, panoramas, and more. And now your host, a social influencer and community activist, Dee Johnson.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Capture the World with Dee. I'm your host, Dee Johnson. Joining me today is the owner of West 360 Digital, a digital photography company that specializes in many areas, including drone videography. He's here today to talk to us about how to incorporate drone into your business. So without further ado, please help me welcome Brandon West.
Thank you,
Hey,
Dee.
Brandon, how are you?
Excellent.
Thanks for joining me today.
No problem.
All right, so you are Brandon West, and you are the owner of West 360 Photography. Tell
That's
me,
correct.
tell us a little bit about your business to start off with, and a little bit about you.
So it's primarily focuses on the real estate industry, primarily residential real estate, commercial real estate, multifamily properties. Also have a few nationwide accounts that manages properties in all sorts of different territories, and then we have subcontractors in those areas. So a lot of the business is real photography, and then there's a digital aspect of it
Hmm.
as well, dealing with services like virtual staging and 3D floor plans, 3D
Oh, wow.
renderings.
Okay.
So a lot of different services that can tie into this whole real estate photography. I think originally, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, it was just primarily photos, but now you have drone photos, 3D virtual tours. So there's also, there's multiple services
Yes.
that can be utilized now.
Yes. So, photos have become like the standard, right? You can't sell a house without a pictures. But
Yeah,
now we're getting into this virtual tour concept, right? Um,
sure.
but one of the things that's really growing is this drone photography, videography. So fly-ins that you see the house from above and you fly into the house, stuff like that, showing the neighborhoods, stuff like that. And that's basically you're the expert in that, from what the community has told me,
Oh
which is
yeah,
why
absolutely.
we're talking today. So I'm interested in learning more about the drone business, how you get into it. Um, is it easy? Is it
Sure.
hard? Just walk us through the steps and sort of tell us your story and your experiences.
So honestly, it started with the residential photography, and then one of the real estate accounts asked if I did drone photography. I pretty much just said yes, and then I went to Costco, bought a $1,000 DJI Mavic Pro, and then just started tinkering around with it, and then just went from there. And then I would say the two main things that you want to figure out first is getting your FAA drone certification
Hmm.
just to fly, because I think a lot of people have the impression that you can just fly a drone, but if you don't have that license, you can actually get fined from the FAA.
Yeah,
So that's also a huge thing. And then, yeah, I would just
yeah.
recommend.
So there's several components, right? So there's the legal part, which is getting it's the FAA F-107.
Yeah, it's called FA Part 107.
Okay.
Yep.
And you need that in order to fly a drone to make, if you make any kind of money. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
commercial money.
Okay.
That's what they consider. It's technically a commercial. And the other thing is too, if you work for larger, especially commercial real estate, they'll actually ask you to send over the paperwork that approves you.
Hmm.
Otherwise, they won't work with you.
Sure.
So the silver lining is that, yeah, it's a complete pain to have to study and take this test, but most people are probably going to be too lazy to get certified, which then puts you, in another category. And then you can also charge more money.
Okay. So let's talk about this certification.
Sure.
How do you get this? What do you have to do?
So you basically have to go to your local airport. You could just Google wherever you are. And they typically, I went to a place called Pro Test Center in Centennial, Colorado, just outside of Denver. So they have test centers. There's companies that offer the test. And I think it cost me around $145 to take it.
Okay.
And you have to, I think it's about 30 questions, and the pass rate is 70%.
Oh, wow. That's pretty low.
Yeah, but the questions can be extremely, it,
Really?
the problem is nobody, unless you were, flying a 747 before this, there's really no reason that you would ever need to understand what air spaces you can travel in. All of the information is completely foreign to you.
Yeah.
It's actually a part of an actual pilot's test.
Oh, okay.
So it makes, when you look at it for the first time, it's just has no recognition to your brain.
Yeah, so you have to understand things like you can't, like airspace is regulated, right? So you
Correct.
just can't fly your drone wherever you want.
Nope.
There's these governmental bodies that regulate that. And like when the
And there's also certain airspaces that you're not allowed to fly in.
ever, right?
So there are certain projects that you'll end up at. Actually, the test isn't totally relevant to real life scenarios. So when you have typically there's an app on your phone. The company's called DJI.
Mhm.
That's the number one drone company.
Mhm.
And in certain scenarios, the drone won't even lift up because they call it a no fly zone.
Oh, so the drone is smart enough to know.
Yep. So technically, like a
Oh.
lot of people think you have to go like before you sign up for a project, you have to go, look at a map and figure out all the details. But the app will actually tell you if you're in a no fly zone.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, because
Yeah.
my understanding is like New York City, you just can never fly there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the whole point is that, if you're near an airport,
Mhm.
first of all, the drone can't go higher than 400 feet.
Okay.
So if you're near an airport, there might be a situation where a plane is trying to land, and technically the drone could interfere with the plane.
Sure. That would not be
So
good.
there's actually plenty of good reasons that there's regulation around this.
Okay, so that's good to know. So yeah, I think I've heard that there's some knowledge about like airspace and what's allowed and what's not. And I heard that if like the president is in your area, then you're just shut down completely.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So
Okay,
there's also, yeah,
so you have to study for this test and pass the test if you want to offer drone services, assuming you're going to make money on that.
correct. Yeah, if you just want to fly around as an individual and just bring it on a camping trip, you obviously don't need a certification.
So yeah, so we bought a drone, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm the one who has to climb up and down the ladder to clean our eaves, our gutters, and
Yeah,
I was
perfect.
so tired of that, and I just wanted to know where I should place my ladder. So we didn't have to get certified because we don't make money on it, but
Correct.
we did have to register it.
Oh yeah, no, that is part of. You do have to register when you buy it, and then you just go to. There's a website. I'm pretty sure you just go to the FAA website, and there's a section where you just register it.
Yeah, it's a
And then
nominal fee.
there should be a barcode
Yep.
on every drone or the box kit you get.
Yes. So we did do that. So if you have a drone and you just fly it for personal reasons, you still have to register. I think there was a nominal fee, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was going to mention two things. One, if there are people who think that this information, the best thing you should do is sign up for a program called Drone Launch Academy, which is a one-time fee for a study course that
Hmm.
basically provides you with a lot of the questions. And the reason it's worth the investment is because if you fail the test, then you have to go spend another $150 anyway. So
Yeah.
you might as well just pay. I think it was somewhere between 100 and $150. So it's basically a break even if you pass anyway.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, so I've heard there are companies out there. We'll put the link to the one that you suggested.
Yeah, I'd
In
highly recommend. They also have like videos throughout. It's just a whole training course that you can go through, and then they have practice test. They actually have practice tests. You can see, basically if you're going to fail or not. So it's actually quite helpful.
Yeah, I do believe it's worth it to spend that money. When I got my contractor's license, it was the same. There are these companies where you took the course, and I did that, and they
Yep.
basically gave you all the questions you were going to get on the test. So,
Yeah, they just, it's just like it's like any test. They always try to trip you up with, all of the above except for this or that. And
okay.
it's just like any standardized test that's trying to, throw you off.
All right, so it's worth it to invest in one of these courses. We will put a link to the one that Brendan was suggesting. Okay, so you get your drone, you get certified. The other aspect of drone, and this is for me has been the roadblock, is that how hard is it to fly them? Because I'm so scared I'm going to crash it, and then my husband's going to kill me.
Yeah, no, honestly, the first time I got in the air, it's actually quite challenging. And then it almost feels like a video game once you get used to it.
Mhm.
So there's pretty much, two settings on it, just photos and video.
Mhm.
And that's what you do. And then the other cool, so if you are getting close, I think it's within 6 feet of an object, the whole entire drone starts beeping.
Mhm.
So you know that you're within, a certain area.
Oh, so it does. It's somewhat smart.
Yeah, actually, the most terrifying thing that can happen to you is when it's up in the air and you lose sight of it.
Yep.
So you also the whole point is that you have a video feed on your phone
Yep.
of what it is,
Yep.
but there's sometimes if you lose it, like it seems simple that you would keep your eye on it, but when it gets up to 200 feet, it starts to turn into a speck, and then you start trying to fly it home, and then
Yeah.
sometimes you're sending it further away. So sometimes you have to really keep
Yeah.
track of where it is, otherwise really wouldn't. I actually would be surprised. It's easier to lose in the air, especially on an overcast day where the sky is white and gray,
Mm. Mm.
and so you really need to keep an eye on it.
Well, what's I've been told is that when you're flying it away from you, it's one thing, but when you come back, everything is reverse,
Exactly,
right? So that
which
makes
is
it harder.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then there is a function on the drone remote controller that has a home button.
Mhm.
So, in the ultimate worst case scenario, you can click the home button, and it will, you know, bring
Come
its way
come
back to
back,
you.
like phone home, come back.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard that there's some software packages out there too that basically you push a button and it does everything. It figures out
Yeah,
how to fly around like a building and
you can send you can create flight paths for the drone.
oh, okay.
So you could, just like an old lawnmower that you put on a string.
Yeah.
They basically could do. It's the same thing.
Ah, okay. So the drones are somewhat smart.
They are, and they're also not only are they getting smarter, they're actually coming down in price too. So I
Okay,
think you can get the
so that's
one for. I think it's the DJI Spark.
uh-huh.
I think it's around $800 now.
All right. So if I was so say for example I am a photographer for real estate and I now and a lot of people are asking me to do drone and I don't want to
Yes.
farm it out. I want to do it myself. So
Yeah.
what drone would you suggest that I purchase?
I would recommend the DJI Mavic Pro.
Okay.
They also have, or the DJI, I think it's the Mavic 2 now. Is that the one that came out? Either one of those is just fine.
And how much do they cost? Do you know roughly?
The DJI Mavic Pro should be around $1,000.
Okay.
So I would highly recommend that. Definitely go with that. Oh, yeah. And then I also have a side note in addition to the drone test, drone insurance
Mm, yeah.
for it's also a good
Yes.
So I pay for residential, it's not really that important, but if you're doing commercial projects, like there was one time in Denver, I was flying over the I-25, which is basically a major highway,
Oh,
and you are technically liable, if you. I just had this fear of the drone going down, hitting a car, going crash into somebody,
yeah.
and I'm liable. So I basically pay $60 a month for $1 million worth of.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yep. And then I could also give you the link for the company that I use,
Okay. All right.
which is.
So you run out, you get your equipment, you get your insurance, because I've heard so many people say they've actually used their insurance. So highly recommended.
Yeah, you also don't want to. I mean, it's a peace of mind thing too.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I would be scared if I was flying a drone over a freeway that I would
Oh
somehow
yeah,
screw something up and hurt somebody, and I that would be horrible.
it's also a business deduction too. So
Okay.
it's just it's a normal write off anyway.
Yep. All right, so you do all that, you learn how to fly it. How do you market the fact that how do you tell the world that this is something that you're now offering?
So you go just one, you just hit up your existing client base. Two, I mean, I did plenty of email marketing campaigns
Hmm.
to real estate agents. I would highly recommend. There's a company. Are you familiar with Thumbtack?
No.
Thumbtack is just like a website where you find anybody to help you, so you can create a profile as a drone pilot. There's also
Oh,
tons of these websites now that basically you can create a profile and people can find you to do drone work.
okay. But it's easier if you already are a real estate photographer, right? Than starting cold,
Yeah,
just like me, just saying, "Oh, I'm going to become a videographer." It's harder, right?
yeah, you're talking about just starting from scratch.
Yeah. I mean,
Starting from.
so drone videography is a great add-on to photography.
Oh yeah, it's extremely easy to tack on. I would also say if you were just starting, just try to contact real estate agents and then just offer them a free photo package. Because the reality is, if you're just starting, you really have no testimonials
Hmm.
or case studies
Hmm.
on your website. So you almost need to, I would just throw it away at first because then you can add like a portfolio to show future people, the work you've
Sure.
done.
Yep.
Otherwise, you really have nothing. I mean, I guess you could shoot your own house, but that's one house.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I would just try to give it away and then build up. Like for what I used to do when I first started, I would get in touch with a realtor and say, "Hey, I'll do this first property for free, and if you like it, can you refer me other real estate agents?"
Okay.
So
So,
you really have to grassroot it in the beginning.
okay. So that sounds like a good plan. So, what if I don't want to do just residential real estate? What are the other areas that I can use drone photography in?
Um, Man, it's endless.
Looking at your gutters to see where to put the ladder is one.
Yeah, another one is actually roof inspections, very popular. So a lot of roofing companies also think about the liability instead of sending a human being into a really dangerous environment. You can just plop a drone up, and then if work for a like a roofing company, and then they can
Hmm.
use the documentation of a damaged roof to try to help sell a homeowner. They basically just show you, your roof is completely screwed up.
Yeah.
Here's the evidence. So
Yeah.
you could contact roofing companies, insurance claims adjusters companies. Love this for documentation to prove their case. That
Sure.
way they can send the information to insurance
Uh
companies
huh.
to prove. So that's a whole nother income stream.
So you can get not just video, but you can get pictures too from it, right?
Yep. Especially in Colorado, because I think we're one of the top three states in the country that has hail damage.
Ah.
So you can
Okay.
see all the pockmarked roofs with damage when,
Ah,
and then they, that way they can prove their case.
okay. So the insurance industry is a great one. And
Yeah,
there are
they call it like
always,
the documentation
yeah. But there's,
industry.
unfortunately, there's always need for documenting insurance claims because
Oh yeah, but this is just from a whole nother, it also, if you do like if you send a roofer up there, it might take a few hours. You can do a drone roof inspection within 15 minutes.
yep, yeah.
So that's a whole nother,
Okay,
you know,
cool. All right. So what about doing drone inside? Does that work?
you can. I've actually done it on a warehouse. Like it's sort of like envision like an Amazon fulfillment center,
Mm-hmm.
giant warehouse. You can do it there because it's big enough, and then you can do like a straight fly through clip. And then some people actually hold the drone for residential real estate videos. People will hold the drone in their hand and do walkthroughs of the house that way.
Oh, you can do that?
You could.
Oh, okay.
So that's another thought.
Okay. Wow. So why don't more people do drones inside like houses?
Well, it's also just kind of tight. It's pretty easy to hit things. They also have other cameras. DJI, the company, also makes these like sort of like a handheld stabilizer
Uh-huh.
that you don't obviously you're not flying it. So that's easier. People just kind of walk through with these. That's how you get those videos of those sweeping clips inside of houses.
Ah, okay.
Yep. So it's also, yeah, it's really challenging to fly a drone through a hallway.
Okay. Is it windy? Does it create wind?
It does. It basically sounds like a lawnmower.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll actually, yeah, sometimes people will pop their head out of houses to see what's going on. Actually, the best part about being a drone photographer is how many people want to come over and see what's going on.
So you get that a lot. Like if you're outside.
Yeah, and well, I think a lot of people are just intrigued because it's pretty obvious when you have a remote controller and you're staring into the sky.
Yeah.
They kind
Yeah.
of, and then a lot of like kids come up and all these people are like, oh, this is so cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think there's nothing. It's kind of cool when you're selling a house and you have a video fly into the house from above. So you're looking at the house from above and you fly in and then you enter.
Exactly. And the advantage why it's easy to sell realtors because, well, especially where I live in Boulder, Colorado, so it's right up against the mountains.
Ah,
So a lot of the realtors are trying to portray how close,
yep,
or, it might be a luxury home embedded into the mountainside. They
yep,
like to show off the privacy
yep,
and the seclusion.
yeah. Or I also think that you can get pictures of the home at heights that you can't from just a regular camera,
No, no.
right?
And it also shows you, a lot of people add text into a lot of drone photos and videos, like 1 mile walking distance to this shopping area
Yep.
or access to this hiking trail. And you can put a lot of people will have like I usually highlight the house in a lot of the photos because if you just show a drone photo and there's 300 homes in the frame,
Uh-huh.
people are like, which one is it?
Yeah.
So you can just typically you just circle the house to kind of show you
Uh-huh.
because otherwise, and when I first started doing this, like, how are they going to know which house it is?
Yeah. Okay. So that's good
So,
information.
yep.
So yeah, so lots of uses for drone, not just residential real estate.
Oh yeah, I think then there's also even more. A lot of construction companies are using drones to sort of document the process. And actually, here's another cool thought. So for these multifamily properties that I do work for,
Mhm.
a lot of them, or like say like there's like a real estate development and there's a developer has 25 units that they're trying to sell. What they do is they're trying to build interest. Say it takes a year to develop.
Mhm.
They'll start sending out marketing information of the completion of the project to try to build interest to the public. Hey, oh, we're almost completed with this building,
Mhm.
and that way they can try to sell these units immediately.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
cool.
they call them like not time lapse, but almost like project completion
Mhm.
to try to So that's a whole nother. You could go back every 3 weeks and then you can see
Yep.
the progress.
Yep. And how the building is progressing. That's always
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, and you could also send a lot of people. Construction companies will use videos like that to show to people that want to invest in them how their projects go.
Mhm. Yep.
So that's another
So lots
cool
of
way to.
uses for the videos and the pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, and also once you get a website up with drone services, you'll really start to build traction. So I know this isn't totally relevant, but just focusing on driving traffic to your site is, SEO is the name of the game at this point. So
Yeah.
if you can just optimize your website to drive traffic, that's really half the battle too.
So I think that as a photographer, you can either decide that you want to offer drone and do it yourself, or you can contract that out to somebody else who already does that. So
Sure.
in that case, just Google somebody in your area to find them. Let's talk about pricing. How much can you charge for something for
So
residential real estate?
so residential, the way my package goes is if you just want regular drone photos, I offer typically 20 drone photos for $200, and then I offer 20 drone photos plus a 1 minute video for $300.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you can make some pretty good money doing that.
Yes, especially if you could sell a realtor on regular photos plus a Matterport.
Sure.
You can the whole point of the reason drone is so lucrative is because if you do residential real estate photography, you're really doing a per house visit.
Hmm.
So if you made 150 for doing just regular interior photos, and now you can turn that into 350, and you're still going to the same house anyway,
Sure.
you basically just doubled your per house visit.
Sure. And the drone photography allows you to get photos that you can't get with a regular camera.
That is
So,
correct.
yeah, they're nice pictures. I like them.
And some of the cool shots, I think the first thing people want to do is see how high a drone can go.
Yep.
But some of the best photos are actually between 30 and 50 feet high. It just adds a unique
Yes.
angle.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily need to go. You don't really need to go 100 feet in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if
So
like a pool. I've seen some really cool pictures of homes with pools. It's a great way to show the pool that you
and
can't.
just the whole backyard area too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's cool. Wow. Okay. So I didn't realize that you could make that much money from it. So it's definitely something that if you have photography, I'm pretty sure that drone photography, videography is up and coming. So you
Sure.
should definitely look into that if you haven't already and sort of map out whether you want to do that or not and sort of map out how you want to move going forward. But definitely start thinking about it if you haven't already. And I'm sure most photographers and a lot of people have told me that they've had requests for drone.
Oh, the other thing I would mention is you almost have to get into drone photography because the agents I work for, I've actually not stolen, well, I've actually taken a lot of business away from people who haven't incorporated drone
Hmm.
because realtors don't really want to deal with having to book the photo guy, the drone guy,
Yeah, okay.
the
Yep.
virtual tour guy.
Yep.
So if you can, they just want one person who can knock it all out.
Yep.
If you have to deal with them booking multiple vendors, you're just adding more value by knocking it all out.
Yeah, so that's a good reason to do it
You
yourself.
almost have to upgrade to drone, or else, I actually work with another guy, and he uses me. And he's like, honestly, they told me that they were going to leave me if I couldn't figure out how to, get drone incorporated.
Uh, So yeah, I've heard more and more people who are thinking about it and interested. I do think it's going to become a standard, a de facto
Oh
standard with
yeah,
every listing. So if you haven't looked
100%.
into it yet, you really need to look into it. And I'll give
Yeah,
you Brandon's link. What's the your website?
it's just west360digital.com.
Okay, so west360digital.com. I'll put his link also in the comment section for this YouTube video, so you can
Sure.
contact him if you have any questions. But yeah, so thanks. I mean, I've learned a ton. Uh,
Yeah. No, there's a lot more to learn too.
so yeah, so I just need to charge up my drone and go outside and start flying it around and not crash into anything.
Yeah. No, it there's a little bit of a learning curve, and then it sort of just turns into a video game.
Yeah.
The next cool thing, I think they're creating those VR goggles that you can put on, and then you almost have the view from the drone.
No way. So
That's
so
yeah.
can you then fly it by changing where you look?
No, I think it's just the controls, but you just have a bird's eye view through the goggles.
Whoa. So that would
Yeah,
really
that's so
help.
that's pretty cool, and I
But the
think
next
that's
step
next.
would be you put on the goggles and I look up and it flies up.
That would be pretty wild.
And it goes wherever I look. So if I look this way, it goes there, right?
Yeah, that's probably soon.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope I answered all your questions.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned a lot, and I hope everybody watching has as well. Again, I will put Brandon's info in the link below. It's west360digital.com,
Sure.
Brandon West. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. All right,
No problem.
everyone, thanks for joining. This has been Capture the World with Dee. I will see you again next week. And until then, stay safe and take care. Bye bye.
Thanks, Steve.